Hello, welcome to HR Garage. I'm Henry. So in the last few episodes, we have been installing a Jaguar V6 engine into an MGB. Now, this is after doing a full restoration on the body of this MGB. So it's solid and ready to go for this engine. In today's episode, I want to make a gearbox mount for this car. We made the engine mount in the last episode, so we need to make the gearbox mount. Now, this is going to be a little bit complicated. Firstly, because I've never done this before, and secondly, because they don't make a gearbox mount for this, so I've got to fabricate it all myself. And as I say, I've never done it before. So wish me luck, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. First of all, here's a look of what we did in last week's episode. For those of you that haven't seen it, we made those engine mounts there. And this engine's sitting nice and level in the car. Obviously, I've got it jacked up at the moment so that I can get underneath it. Now, I will show you the issue with the gearbox, which I'm going to have to try and overcome. So here's what I've got to deal with. Now, the original RX-8 gearbox mounted where that block of wood is there. But, nicely from Mazda, they've put these two studs here and here. Now, my plan is to use the MGB's original gearbox mounting points here and put a bar from one side to the other. And from that bar, I'm going to use the same as what I did for the engine mounts, put a cylinder here and bolt it to an L bracket that will bolt to here. So the L bracket will come down, and a bolt will go through that cylindrical kind of bush mount that's welded to the top of the engine mount, the gearbox cross member that I'm going to put in. Now, I've drawn it on my whiteboard to try and give you a better idea of what I'm planning. So here you go. So here's like a 3D kind of picture. Those are the two studs coming down from the gearbox. L-shaped bracket there with a bolt going through to my bush mount, which will be these bushes here, and bolted on the other side with a plate to go into the original holes in the chassis rail that the original MGB cross member sat on, and another plate there, and then a flat section of box bridging them together. That's what it'll kind of look like from above or below, and that's kind of the side view. You'll see the bolts coming down across an L section with some bracing, bolt going through to that kind of central gearbox mount. Now, we'll have to see if that's strong enough, because I don't know. The gearbox, I've seen a similar one made for an RX-8 gearbox that was mounting it to an RX-7 with just that central mount. Now, the MGB gearbox had two block mounts. I don't know if you know MGBs, but if you do, that's what they came with. In fact, I can show you on here. This is the original MGB gearbox mount. Now, I've taken one of the mounts off because I toyed with the idea of fitting that to this RX-8 gearbox, but it's not going to work. So we'll have to see if that's strong enough, because I don't know. So what I'm going to do is use the original MGB gearbox cross member as a stencil to make two kind of plates, and then I'm going to join those two plates together with a solid bit of metal. Box section, which I've got somewhere around here, which I'll show you in a minute. But it's like a flatter box section. There we go. Like this. Nice and thick, nice and strong, and it can weld to those plates. So I'm going to crack on with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut out these plates the right length. Now, I don't have any thicker plate because that would have been really, really useful. So what I'm going to do is cut four of these out and weld two of them together to give myself a double thickness plate. And that'll give me enough room then to mount two holes here to attach the original MGB cross member bolts, holes or threads, and then weld my box section underneath between the two chassis rails. Now, I was thinking about doing it on top and just using one of these, but I think it's going to give me more strength to put it underneath, and it'll be less distance from the bush to my adapter coming from the RX-8 box itself. So yeah, I'll get on with doing that. Right then, we can weld all these together now. Well, two of each together to make 2 plates. Now, I've set these up the same as last time on a block of steel, 2 G clamps on to keep them dead flat, so that as I weld them, they don't want to pull together, lift the corners up. I want to keep them nice and flat. So I'll tack it a few times just so it's in the right place, and then I'll do a solid weld all the way down the middle, and then I'll grind that flat, flip it over, and put another weld on the other side, and grind that flat, and then jump onto the next one. So sit back and watch me do that. Right, those plates are made and welded together. So now I need to template out on them once they've cooled down a little bit because they're very hot. The MGB cross member holes to mount them up onto the chassis rails. So I'll do that now. Well, I think the best way to do this is going to be to clamp this in here. They're still warm, I've got to be honest. Get my pen. And what I can do then is measure that that's right. 13 mil, okay. And the ends, 16. It was a bit that way. Right, I'm going to do this a slightly different way actually. Although that would work, it's not exactly very accurate. So I just want to get rid of my mark. Now, what they need to be is 70 mil apart, these holes. So I'm going to measure in 15 on either side. And I go across like that. And then I can measure the thickness of this. 100, I should have made these a good size, shouldn't I? 104. Okay. 104 minus 70 is 34. That's 17 away from each side. I can center part my hole and then I can drill them out. Happy days. Right, let's drill these out. Right then, that's one plate drilled and installed, which I'll show you it on the chassis. It's going to give me a minute to get down. For a 30-year-old man, my knees are absolutely shot because of this car. Right, let me turn the camera around and I'll show you. So there's one plate installed, not going anywhere. New bolts on there as well. So now I need to install the other one on the other side, but I'm going to whip this back off again so I can use that as a template to drill the holes for the other one. Then I'll come in with my box section, measure from the chassis rail to this chassis rail, cut it, and then probably weld it in place in situ, just tacking it, and then take it outside to finish it up. And there you go. There's that plate, and there's that plate there. So what I thought I'd show you is, with this piece of wood, if I can get that in there with one hand. Right, there you go. So this is how I wanted to have the gearbox mount, resting on top of these two plates with that kind of square tubing. However, don't know if you can see, the gap between the gearbox casing and that isn't very big. So there's not enough room really for my kind of bush holder to go there, if you like. Now what I could do is put that in the middle and weld to either side and then brace it underneath, which I think I might do, because I want these to rest on top of these, because that's where the strength is. If I weld it to the underneath, then you're only relying on the weld, no bolts or anything really. Obviously, you're relying on this weld, but that's two really thick plates. So we'll see. I might end up going from welding to the actual bit in the middle and then maybe just making like a little bit underneath or something. I've not decided yet. Or a little bit on top even, just to brace it. But we'll see. But I've run out of time today, so I will see you in the morning for me to carry on. Good morning. So I've been underneath the car now for half an hour or so, just figuring life out. And I've come across a potential issue. I made the mistake of assuming that the gear lever location is bang on in the centre of the car, and for whatever reason I didn't measure it. It's not. It's closer towards the passenger, which means my gearbox tail, where the yoke's going to slide into, is closer towards the passenger too. Now, it's very minute, and the prop shaft, because I've got the MGB prop shaft still in there, does mate up to it, and it doesn't foul the transmission tunnel or anything. But is it okay to have the gearbox coming out and then the prop shaft having a slight angle? Now, a little bit of research says a maximum of 3 degrees out. So I'm kind of at a point now where do I carry on, make my gearbox mount, and then measure all the angles, or do I kind of stop, see if I can reposition the engine in the bay? The problem is, it's less than a millimetre out at the front, but as you take that further away from the pivot point, that less than 1 millimetre gets more and more and more, doesn't it? So where it's less than half a mil out at the front, it's probably almost half a centimetre, 5 mil out at the back. So it's putting it towards the passenger slightly. So yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum to kind of come over that, because I just assumed wrongly that the gear lever location would be bang on in the centre, because obviously that's where the MGB gearbox was, but the MGB gearbox shift must be slightly to one side, which is very annoying. So yeah, I need to decide whether I'm just going to carry on regardless, naively, or redo my engine mounts. Right. You joined me quite a few hours later after much debate and deliberation. Even my dad came round to have a look, see what he thought. And we've come to the conclusion that I'm going to do nothing. So a colossal waste of an hour and a bit. Basically, we've come to that conclusion because we did a load of measurements and worked out the angles and things of the prop shaft. Now, ideally, a prop shaft should be dead parallel with the rear axle, with the rear diff and stuff. It should be in a complete straight line so you don't get any vibrations and stuff. Now, looking through several forums and spending quite a lot of time researching, the kind of industry standard seems to be maximum 3 degrees. Pushing it, you could get to 4 degrees out of alignment. Now, I know that the engine's level and I know that the axle's level. So I know that that is completely parallel. So all I'm out, and obviously, so I'll turn the camera around and show you my workings because that'll make it easier. So my engine and axle will cause the prop shaft to do that. That's fine as long as that's parallel and that's parallel. So that's good. It's this one that I'm less happy about, because where my gearbox is and where the rear differential is going to put a slight angle on the prop shaft, but that's exaggerated. What the actual angle is up here. Now we've worked it out by doing it as a right angle triangle. That is 1 degree, that angle, over the 810 mil. That's 15 mil out from the centre of the car, and that angle is 88.9. So that should be 90 and that should be 0. So we're 1.1 and that is 1.1. I just drew it as 1. So it's a 1.1 angle difference, which is obviously a lot less than the 3 degrees. That's kind of the uppermost of what would be kind of okay. So yeah, not ideal. And it did worry me for a minute, well, for an hour or so, but I think it should be okay. Every degree you are out will take miles out of the U-joints in your prop shaft. That's just a fact, because you're putting more stress through them. I can kind of deal with that when it comes to it. If I'm breaking a prop shaft and U-joints every 1,000 miles, then I'm going to have to redo the engine mounts and stuff, aren't I? But for now, to get it built and stuff, I'm happy that it's only 1 degree out. So I'm going to crack on and make my gearbox mount. So just to remind you, this is my general idea for the gearbox mounts. L bracket coming off the 2 bolts underneath the gearbox, down to there, with a bolt through, with my bushes either side. First of all, I'm going to make this tube, so I need to cut that 43, and then I can look into making the bar that goes across from there to there. Again, that's the 3D drawing. It's going to look kind of like that. Now I want to mount that above, because that's where the strength is, but I might end up having to mount it below and putting another brace underneath it or something. I've not kind of decided that yet. So let's cut this out first, and then we can kind of start working it all out. So there you go, that is that made. Now, I've just tried to offer it onto the underneath of the car with my piece of wood there to kind of simulate how kind of close to the gearbox is going to be, and it doesn't fit in the gap between the gearbox and the plate. It's annoying. So what I'm going to do, so this tube here, I'm going to, at the point that that welds on, I'm going to notch. I'm going to leave this bottom bit in place. I'm going to notch that and then sink that into it and weld it either side and then all around. Then I'm going to make some strengthening bits either side, and that should be good enough for a gearbox mount. So I will measure it all up and then measure where this bit's going to go, and then we will weld it all up. So from that plate there to that plate there, the distance between both chassis rails is 570 millimeters. So I'm going to cut this bar at 570 millimeters, and then I can measure up, because it's not directly in the middle of this where that bush is going to go, so then I can measure where I'm going to have to profile to fit this in. So let's cut that out, 570 millimeters. Measure twice, cut once. Obviously it's the other way. Stupid idiot. Okay. God, there's so much crap in this garage. Right, let's go and offer this up to the car and just see what it fits like. So there you go. That's what it fits like at the moment, which is cool. So now I need to work out where this is going to go. So I need to measure probably from there to here and there to the other chassis rail on that side, and then I can work out where it should be here. So I'll do that now and then let you know. So that mark there is 32 centimeters away from one of the ends. I can't remember which now, but basically that's the bit that I need to cut out. So I need to make that like a semicircle so that I can slot, I can kind of set that into it down here somewhere. That's the plan anyway. too much amps there. Here we go. That's what it looks like underneath the car now. So I think it looks good. I'm tempted to make some more strengthening bits to these bolts here, maybe, or maybe just one to the centre there. But for now, it'll hold the weight, and I can kind of work that bit out later. So the gearbox is in the right position. I've just jacked it up another kind of few centimetres. I'm just trying to work out what's best to do. My original plan was to bracket to there with an L and just attach it through. But I'm thinking now whether to go all the way above it and then make another U like I did for the engine mounts. But then that's quite a long way from there, and yeah, so I'm not sure which way to go with it. I'm leaning towards just making the L here and then having a washer on that side. Yeah, my microphone is being a bit funny today, so sorry if that went suddenly quiet. But yeah, I need to make that plate with an L, bolt it through, drill the 2 holes in for the gearbox mount, see if I've got any nuts for those threads, because I don't think I have, to be honest. So maybe order them, but for now it can just kind of slot up into place. And yeah, because we'll be able to release that little bit of wood that's chocking up the jack and under that other cross member. Hopefully the MGB will have the weight of the whole car then. The whole car? Oh, I'm tired. The whole engine and gearbox. So yeah, let's make that plate, drill out the holes, and we should be good to go. Right, I've not seen you for a while. I've been trying to fabricate up this gearbox mount. So let me show you where I'm up to. I think not having a bolt to kind of bolt the plate to the gearbox is going to be my downfall in this one, I think. So the bush is in there, and as soon as I do plate that up there, it all fits right. Now I'm going to put some gussets along the side of these to make it a bit stronger. But I need to keep that there so that I can get my welder in and tack everything in the right place. But obviously as soon as I let go, it drops and I've got no bolt to hold it. So I don't know, I'm going to have to try and think of something just to hold that plate in place while I tack it all together, and then I can unbolt it and weld it all up off the car. But yeah, simple things like that are just annoying, aren't they? Because other than that, I think it's looking quite good. Right, there we go. I've got it all in position. I use one of the other bushes just to thread on there, just to keep it in the right place. A little gap there so I can put a weld through. That's clamped so it's flat, so is that one. Lined up with the little marks I made. So now I need to come in and just tack everything. It's going to be extremely awkward because I'm under the car, but I need to come and tack everything up so it's in the right place. I can then remove everything as one piece and then complete the weld up on it. So yeah, that's it really. I'm going to get my welder in and start tacking away. I'm guessing where you're pointing now. One day I will have a full workshop with a lift and everything. Oh, why aren't you working? Oh, because it's for a rubber mount, you idiot. Everything is just such a pain, isn't it, when you've got no room to wear. I'm tripping over every single wire. I'm catching my head on everything. I got it tacked, and then as soon as I moved it, the tacks on the actual cross bit just fell off. Obviously, I did them as a weak tack anyway, but so I had to go back under and do it all again. But they're now outside, ready for me to run some nice, hopefully nice welds down the side of each one. So I'll show you that. So there you are, that right angle piece and them. So I'm going to weld them together and then strengthen that one up, I think. Definitely some better quality welds. I'm definitely getting more used to that welder again. Not perfect, but definitely better. Some of them I did a few different welds on, to be honest, just to beef it up a little bit. This side fell off again, so I had to put everything back up in place and make sure it was in the right place, and then I clamped it down and welded it. Oh, can you see me? There you go. Yeah, I need to strengthen up that bit that comes off the gearbox now. I'm going to put some gussets either side, and then we can install it all in the car, get rid of any jacks and pieces of wood and see how it sits. So I've made some little gussets for this L bracket thing. So one kind of issue that I'm trying to just figure out with it, basically how you would get a spanner on to tighten it up, essentially. So I've put the nut and bolt on there, and you can see I've lined it up so it's vertical. Now, kind of thinking, should I just put those there like that? Because it's adding strength and stopping the nut from turning. I don't necessarily have to weld the nut in, because they're strong enough. Should be fine. I mean, that should be good, shouldn't it? You wouldn't need a spanner then, because those themselves will stop it kind of rotating. I was tempted to weld the nut, but then there's no way of locking it in place I'd rather have a nylock bolt on it if I can't have a spring washer at least. So yeah, I think I'll do that and weld those so that that just slides in and out. As you can see, I've welded it all the way around. It's incredibly hot. This time I do need to clean up all the welds, at least on the top, and where the nut's going to go. Then I can install it into the car. You'll notice all the things I do look rather agricultural because I'm just literally using what I've got, basically. Hopefully it's function over form. Is that the right way around? Yeah. Won't look good. Hopefully we'll do the job. I'm going to clean all these up, install it into the car, and then let you know the final result. Right, let me show you the finished results. You know what? This has been a hard couple of days in the garage, or week to be honest, making those engine mounts, engine in and out, and now making this gearbox mount by being cramped underneath the car. And my garage is an absolute pigsty, but I'm really proud of what I've achieved. And it might not be perfect, it might not be laser cut and 3D printed or whatever, and it might not be the correct bushes really. They're too small and I'm going to get a lot of vibrations in the car. But this is just the first mock-up, this is just the first go. So if it works, great. If I need to change it in the future, so be it. I'm not adverse to that. So yeah, let me show you. So I've got this rubber bush acting as a bolt, but it is keeping it up there and level. That nut works perfectly in between those two kind of fillets. That's the front. It's got the whole way to the car now. Nothing fouling. Those bushes are taking the weight. I will order a high strength bolt, real high strength bolt, and obviously trim it back down to here, and it'll have a nylock nut on it in the end. These will have some bolts on them. Obviously I wouldn't be able to thread that on at the moment. I need to cut that back. But yeah, the bushes are tiny, so the gearbox really doesn't move much at all, which is not good. But as I say, it can always be changed in the future. For now, I think that looks fantastic. It needs painting up. I can do that another time. Happy days. Right, I think what I'm going to do is drop this car back on its paws, and then we can round up everything, can't we? There we go. Back on the ground. Engine stayed where it was. And so did the gearbox. So happy days. Now in next week's episode, we've got something exciting. Going to be frustrating as well. But I'm going to try and make these fit. Now, they're going to have to go a little bit like that. But I'll leave that as a surprise for next week. So there we go then. Another episode complete. I did read all the comments from last week's episode about my welding. Now, I'm no professional, but they are strong, and I intend to make them stronger anyway. So please don't worry. The car is in safe hands, I promise. So thank you very much for watching. Please like the video, give it a comment as well, and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and I will see you next week.